Chapter 6 of Ruth Fielding at the War Front. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Ruth Fielding at the War Front by Alice B. Emerson. The Mystery. Ruth Fielding's rising fear was quenched when she saw the faces of the newcomers more clearly. They were those of young men belonging to the American Expeditionary Forces, as their uniforms betrayed, and they were teasing Mother Gervais in the free and easy way of American youth. Nor was she anywhere near as angry as she assumed. They pushed her into the cottage and crowded in themselves before they saw Ruth standing at the end of the long table. Then, quite suddenly, their voices fell. Not so Mother Gervais. She fetched one of her tormentors a sharp smack with the palm of her hand. "En voilà," she cried, meaning, in the slang of the day, good for nothing. "You would take my house by storm? Do you think it is a Boche dugout you charge when you come to Mother Gervais?" The silence of the rough and careless fellows was becoming marked. Already the Frenchwoman was noticing it. She turned, saw their eyes fixed upon Ruth, and remarked, "Ah, it's well they respect the mademoiselle. Come in, wicked ones, and shut the door." Ruth, relieved, saw that all were young commissioned officers, a very, very young captain, 2 first lieutenants, and several subalterns. They bowed rather bashfully to Ruth, and could not take their eyes off her. One finally said, "You must be the lady at the Clare Hospital, Miss Fielding? You're the only American girl at that station." "I am Miss Fielding," Ruth returned. Her eyes shone. Her tone grew softer. She saw that he belonged to Tom Cameron's regiment. "I have a friend in your regiment, Mr. Cameron, Lieutenant Thomas Cameron. Is he on duty with you?" Their respectful silence when they tumbled in and saw her was marked, but the utter dumbness that followed this question was so impressive that Ruth could almost hear her own heartbeat. "What, he is not hurt?" she cried, looking from one to the other. "I believe not, Miss Fielding," the captain said. "He is not on duty with us. I can tell you nothing about Lieutenant Cameron." The decision with which he spoke and the expression upon the faces of the others appalled the girl. She could not find breath to ask another question. Mother Gervais bustled forward to set upon the napkin she had spread a plate of the ragout for Ruth. The latter sank into the chair. The young officers gathered upon the other side of the hearth. They were hopelessly dumb. There was a noise outside. The chugging of a car was a welcome relief. The door opened again, and Charlie Bragg and the other 2 boys entered. "Well, the Boches didn't get us that time," said Charlie, with satisfaction. "Nor the old flivver, either. Hullo! Here's General Haig and all his staff. Or is it General Disorder? Hurry up with the mulligan, Mother Gervais. We've got to gobble and go." He slipped into the seat next to Ruth, smiling at her. He was just a hungry, slangy boy, but those others... Ruth could scarcely force the food down, but she determined to make a meal for her body's sake. She did not know what was before her, how much work or how hard it would be, before she obtained another meal. She managed to ask, "Is the car all right again, Charlie?" "You can't bust it," he declared enthusiastically. "The Britishers make all manner of fun of 'em, call 'em mechanical fleas and all that, but with a hammer, a monkey wrench, and some bale wire, a fellow can perform major and minor operations on a flivver in the middle of a garageless wilderness, and come through all right when better cars are left for the junk department to gather up and salvage." The other 2 ambulance drivers, to whom Ruth had been introduced, came to the table and finished their suppers. Mother Gervais grumblingly dishing up more hot stew for them. "It is for you and such as you I slave and slave," she said. "And what thanks do I get?" "For la zozot do you work, Mother," said one, laughing. "And who would want better thanks than money?" But Ruth kissed the woman when she rose to depart. She believed Mother Gervais was tender under her rough skin, as is the saying. The young officers had not come to the table while Ruth remained, nor did Charlie pay much attention to them. At least he did not try to introduce them, and Ruth was glad of that. There was something wrong. There was a mystery. Why should Tom Cameron's own associates act so oddly when his name was mentioned? She merely bowed to the officers, but shook hands with Charlie's brother ambulanciers. There seemed to her something very wholesome and fine about these youths who drove the ambulances. They had, most of them, come to France and enlisted in their present employment before the United States got into the war at all. She suspected that many of them were of that class known about their home neighborhoods as that boy of Jones's, or that Jackson kid. In other words, their overflow of animal spirits, of ambition, or whatever it was, had probably made them something of a trial to their neighbors, if not to their families. Ruth began to see them in a sort of golden glow of heroism. They were the truer heroes because they denied this designation. Charlie grew red and gruff if she as much as suggested that he was doing anything out of the ordinary. Yet she knew he had written a book about his first year's experiences, and his brother had found a publisher for it in New York. His share of the proceeds from that book was going to the Red Cross. Into the ambulance they climbed, and again they were rolling over the dark and rough road. Ruth gathered together all her courage and asked, "Do you know anything about Tom Cameron?" "Tom Cameron? Yes," she said. "I want to know what's happened to him, Charlie." "For the love of Pete," gasped the young fellow, "I didn't know anything had happened to him. Again." "I must know," Ruth told him, her voice quivering. "Some of those officers belonged to his battalion. All were of his regiment, but when I asked about him, they refused to answer." "You don't mean it." Plainly, Charlie Bragg was nonplussed. "I thought they acted funny," he said, with a sudden grin, which she sensed rather than saw. "But I thought it was girlitis. It has a terrible effect upon these fellows that haven't seen a real American girl for so long." "I'm serious, Charlie," she told him. "Something has happened to Tom, or about him. Seems to me that those officers were afraid to speak of it, as though there were something disgraceful about it." "Oh, say," murmured Charlie, "that's not sense, you know. Of course Tom could do nothing disgraceful, but why should those men be afraid to speak of him?" cried the shaken girl. "He can't be wounded again. That can't be it. Haven't you heard a word?" She suddenly realized that her companion had grown silent. He made no comment now upon her speech. She waited a full minute before bursting out again. "You have heard something, Charlie. Something about Tom." I don't know," he muttered. "I didn't know it was Tom." "What is it?" she demanded with rising eagerness. "I don't know that it's about Cameron now," he muttered. "I should hope not." "Charlie Bragg, do you want to drive me wild?" she demanded, clutching at his arm. "Hold on, you'll have us in the ditch," he warned her. "You answer me at once," she commanded. "Oh, but what can I say? I don't know anything. I don't believe Tom Cameron would be tricky, not a bit. As for selling out to the Boches—" "What do you mean?" almost shrieked the girl. "Are you crazy, Charlie Bragg?" "There you go," he grumbled. "I told you I didn't know anything, for sure, but I heard some gossip. About Tom? I didn't know it was about Tom, and I don't know now, but what you say about how funny those chaps acted." "Do explain," begged Ruth. "Come right out with it, Charlie." "Why, I heard a chap had been accused of giving information to the enemy. Yes, one of our chaps, an American. It said he met a Boche spy on listening post, right out there between the lines. He was seen twice. Not Tom. No name told when I heard it. First, a fellow saw him talking to a figure that stole away toward the German line. This fellow told his top sergeant, and Toppy told his captain. They waited and watched. 3 men saw the same thing happen. They were going to have the blamed traitor up before the brass hats when all of a sudden he disappeared." "Who disappeared?" gasped Ruth Fielding. "This chap they suspect gave information to the Boches. He's gone, like that." "Captured?" questioned Ruth breathlessly. "Or gone over to them," returned Charlie with evident unwillingness. Ruth sighed. "But that could never be Tom Cameron." "You wouldn't think so," was the reply, "but that's all I can guess that those fellows had in mind when they would not answer you. Good gracious, look at that." He braked madly. The ambulance rocked and came to an abrupt standstill. Across the track, scarcely 2 yards before the nose of the car, had dashed a white object which soundlessly was gone in half a minute, swallowed up in the shadowy field beside the road. "We see it again, Ruth," said Charlie Bragg with a strange solemnity. "What do you mean?" she demanded, but her voice, too, shook. "The werewolf, that dog, whatever it is, ghost or dispatch bearer, whatever you call it, I got a good sight of it again, Miss Ruth. Didn't you?" End of chapter 6.